to wish everyone, I think we can still do this because it's not January 15th yet, a Happy New Year. I want to welcome you to our third season of Leading the Digital Era. I want to especially thank Frank, John, and the Institute for Digital Transformation for getting us this far, and I truly appreciate the journey you've all been on with us. And today's an exciting one for me. I have two of my closest friends joining us today, and we're going to have a conversation about the vital role of relationships in leadership, collaboration, and innovation. At the heart of every successful organization is the strength of its connections. We're joined by four outstanding panelists who embody the power of building meaningful relationships. Our discussion will cover foundational connections, overcoming challenges, fostering collaboration, and adapting to the digital era. We invite you to share your thoughts and your stories in the chat, and we want to hear all about how you build relationships in your organization. But first, we're going to start with a previous multiple-time guest and host here at the Institute, Andrea Markstrom. Andrea is the Chief Information and Chief Security Officer of 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. She's responsible for the firm's technology and cyber strategy. She ensures that technology organizations delivering value, innovative solutions, and superior service. Andrea has more than 30 years of experience not only leading global innovation technology organizations for large law firms, but she's also the founder and CEO of 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, a professional networking organization helping women advance their careers. She's a two-time New York CIO of the Year Orby winner, a Women of Influence in Legal Tech Award winner, and recognized by New York's ISACO chapter of the Women in Cyber Award. Andrea is the chair for Inspire's CIO New York City chapter and mentor for Northeastern's Technology MBA program, and a board member for several large tech companies and one of the best networkers and relationship builders I know. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate it, Andrea. And before we bring the rest of the guests out, I just want to talk to you. We have an event coming up on April 24th.
Yes. Yeah.
So you want to take us through our second annual 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 event for a few seconds?
Absolutely. So 𝗓𝗏𝗏, first of all, stands for Inspiring Women, Igniting Leadership and Learning. And it's a community. It's a community that anyone can join for free. It is inclusive of all roles, all levels, all industries. And we also welcome our male allies because we need each other. And really, this community is about helping each other rise and succeed. April 24th, and our website is here on screen. April 24th is our second annual summit. This year it's going to be even bigger and better. We're looking forward to around 300 people joining us with amazing speakers, everything from building your brand to how do you elevate your career? How are you interested in a board role? How do you go about that? Any topic that is relevant to all of us, regardless, again, of role or industry. The other thing that we are also introducing this year at our summit are two other pieces. One, our scholarships for young adults. We will be specifying one of those scholarships for women in cyber, because that is an area of focus. We need more women in cyber. So young professionals, we encourage you to what's the word I'm looking for? To go for those scholarships, because they're just going to help elevate you in your professional development and can help you in your college and early professional life. The other piece that we're introducing are awards. So top woman in community, who's done really amazing things in their community, who has done amazing things as a leader, a young rising star. We have 5 awards that we are also giving away. This year, as we did last year, we will be doing a pitch competition. So if you are a woman founder, have a great business idea, come pitch it. We are giving away free money, a grant fund. The entire community of 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 will be voting on who should be receiving that grant. And the final piece, it's going to be amazing networking. You will meet people that will change your life. And that's really what 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is all about. So thanks for letting me share.
Well, I look forward to it. I look forward to the conference, to the gala, and to seeing, and those awards launch today. So please head over to the website and nominate your most impactful Women of the Year. There are 3 awards out there. So I'm not going to talk about the 4th. I don't agree with that one, but that's okay. You can nominate your favorite male supporter of the year. But Karthik built a great site, and please get it there and nominate those women that you think are most deserving. And with that, let's talk about another great innovative woman and someone who'll be participating there also. Let's talk about 𝗏𝗏 𝗠𝗏. Welcome to the show, Connie. Connie has over 25 years of experience at the intersection of technology, real estate, and people. She's a visionary leader known for driving digital transformation and innovation. Recently launching her company's new website, Connie specializes in aligning IT strategy with business goals, leading projects in real estate, ERP optimization, and cybersecurity. Connie is also a passionate advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, fostering environments where underrepresented voices can thrive. Connie, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Robert. And I'm thrilled to be here and with my very good friends, Robert and Andrea, and some more.
Well, let's talk about some of those more. So let's bring on Nicole Petrie, Chief Marketing Officer with over 25 years of experience transforming organizations and driving growth through bold innovation strategies. Known for ability to lead cultural transformation, Nicole has a proven track record of building high-performing teams, enhancing brand differentiation, and delivering measurable results in the professional services industry. Her expertise spans strategic account leadership, sales innovations, go-to-market execution, and business development. Passionate about fostering collaboration, diversity, and inclusion, Nicole excels at united cross-functional teams, whether dispersed globally or virtually, a shared vision around to achieve meaningful impact. She's also the chair of the Legal Marketing Association, CMO Special Interest Group, and is a member of CHIEF, a professional community designed to connect and empower and elevate women across industries. Nicole has lived and worked in both Australia and the United States and is a CPA and a certified executive coach. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you very much, John, and welcome everyone. And very delighted to be here and sharing whatever we can share today with the group.
Nicole, thank you. And thank you for all the work you put into here, especially from the other side of the world as we all plan to do this over the last couple of weeks. So we truly appreciate your time.
Not a problem.
And rounding out with our final guest, another woman, male, Paul Nelson. Paul Nielsen Paul's the Director of Procurement at Douglas Elliman Realty, and in his role, he's responsible for managing Douglas Elliman's indirect spend and supply relations across all spend categories. Paul is also the founder of Lone Wolf Sourcing Group, which is a free membership organization where procurement professionals can collaborate and share best practices, optimizing the value they are able to deliver to organizations. The group is hosting their first ever in-person experience, the Wolfpack Summit in New York City this May. Welcome, Paul.
Good to be here, Robert. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the stellar intro.
I appreciate that, Paul. Well, let's get past all the intros and let's start off with some real meat that I think some of our guests will be happy to jump in and collaborate with you guys. First question, and let's start actually with some of our non-IT folk. And Nicole, if you would mind taking this one first. How do you prioritize relationship building in your role, and what impacts has it had on your career and organizational success?
Yeah. Look, I think it's such a foundation for everybody's role at any point in your career, and whether it's with your clients or with your internal stakeholders or even with your individual teams, fostering that high performance team culture is instrumental in anyone's success. I think practically, what does it mean? We often talk about this and building high performance teams and building great relationships. It's really just slowing down a little bit, right? And meeting people where they're at and just listening, understanding people's agendas, really getting a little bit more connected. It's not really about your agenda, it's about our agenda. And I think it's a much more rewarding place to sit when you're working, to be connected to individuals. And it's something you can be doing from the get-go. You don't have to be a senior person focusing on relationships. We should be focusing on this from the day we walk in to any organization. And I think the more we do this, the more we expand our network. How does it help you personally and professionally? Well, absolutely. You're going to be, much more connected to the rest of the firm, to the rest of the marketplace. And ultimately, that helps the organization succeed.
Thank you, Nicole. And I keep hearing your network is your net worth, and it does, expanding network is really critical in and out of the organization, which is my favorite thing to say. But Paul, do you mind taking the same question?
Sure. I think for me, it's more prioritizing it is more about making it a fundamental part of what I do, trying to be useful and friendly. If I'm viewing that within my day-to-day, then I don't have to worry as much about prioritizing relationships because I know that my default position is to always just try and be helpful. A lot of times you're not going to have proximity to the people that you're trying to build relationships with, and then you have to get a little more creative. And so if there's someone that I think I want to cultivate more of a relationship with, I might get a little bit more technical and maybe calendar reminders or keep a running OneNote, let's just say, about topics of interest, just to try to cultivate interest. Not every relationship can be a 10 out of 10, like the one I have with Connie, but you always strive to sort of gauge using emotional intelligence. Well, how can I improve this by, just sheer repetition of interest, trying to be useful, sharing content with people that might be helpful to them as well to sort of break down the wall. Procurement people are used to this kind of breaking down the silo of how we can have better stakeholder relationships since we're working with every department in the company. So over the years of my career, I've tried to develop a comfort level with just figuring out the right avenue to build those relationships, even at a fundamental level. I think it boils down to being a problem solver and also being a connector if you can't be the problem solver. So those are the ways that I've employed to really prioritize building relationships.
I love that, Paul, and thank you. And thank you for hitting a component of digital in there with using your OneNote and relationships. We are leading in the digital era, and throwing some nod to IT in there really helps me out a lot. So thank you.
I love OneNote. Yeah, absolutely.
All my questions are written on my OneNote now, and that's what we're working off of. So awesome. So Connie, any additions to what we've heard so far?
Sure. As you can see, now you know why I think Paul is the procurement expert and best partner available to anyone, as you can see. Ultimately, for me, what I would add is just really spending the time to understand everyone's motivations, right? Their fears and their motivations. And that is how you can drive that partnership and relationship. It's all about listening more than speaking, because we all want the same thing, but it might not feel that way when we first get into a room, right? Everyone might have their own concerns and fears. And so really listening, understanding what's going on, and will bring you to the other side.
Thanks, Connie. I mean, and I appreciate that you and Paul have that affinity for each other. My first call with Paul one-on-one was about how great this relationship with you and Connie is, and I've been lucky enough to see that same relationship with Nicole and Andrea for a little bit long, for a couple of years now. But Andrea, let's wrap up this question with you. Can you talk to us about the same topic, about building those relationships and prioritizing relationship building in your role?
Yeah, I think I only may it's about reaching out to people, spending just, I think, Paul, you mentioned pause, right? And that's so important, that every day that you pause and take a moment to either reach out to somebody, and it can be really fast and simple. How are you doing? Thanking them, recognizing them, and going into it with intention. One of the best phrases I've ever heard is be rich in relationships. And relationships, if I think about the question, what impact has relationships had on my career? That is the sole focus of every single role that I've ever received is from a relationship. And when you start building those and continue to maintain those throughout your entire career, I mean, those relationships come back and reap its rewards. I mean, 100-fold. And you might not know that initially, but it does come back, and it's just so important to invest in people, invest in relationships every single day.
I do want to hear about I'm going to get to now, but this wasn't a planned question, so we'll come back to it. But I'm going to put this idea in you guys' head and show our audience. I'm going to say the things we all think it sometimes, but very often we might in IT say, oh, that user or that person or that frustration, that moment in time, which is not a lifetime. How do we teach our team members how to get past that moment to continue to build on those relationships and not take that to heart? And we'll get back to that, because I know we didn't prepare for that one, but I do want to start with let's start with Paul and Connie. Can you guys talk to us a little bit about your relationship? How is it so strong, and how do you guys interact together? If you don't mind sharing a little bit, to you.
Want me to start, Connie?
Yes, please.
I think there's a commonality between procurement and IT, is that we both are sort of in the same trenches of dealing across the business and dealing with stakeholders across the business, and also kind of like a United Nations of how do we communicate the languages of all the departments. So I think we naturally became fast friends. not only just because of, you can always tell when you're going to be friendly with someone based on just how you interact with them, and you always want to do more for the people that you like. But we've come across a lot of different challenges in dealing with stakeholders throughout the years that we've worked together. How long is it now? Kind of 8 years, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost 9.
And when it comes to technology, I'm speaking to the converted here, but there's a lot of challenges where Connie is going to want to look at high level strategy, and there's plenty of tasks to be done and relationships to be managed in the mid tier of the business with supplier. From a procurement perspective, I think supplier relationship management is the perfect gateway to building a relationship with technology, where if they'll allow it. But earlier in my career, it might have been a little more difficult. But I think there's a lot of things that you can take off the table that can be problematic that to a CIO are very useful. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Connie, but I think we built a lot of trust with each other by by demonstrating what procurement can do, but also what IT can help procurement do as well. Where I wouldn't have the tools that I have to manage my one-person shop without Connie. And conversely, I try to be the watchdog for IT, the tip of the spear with InfoSec and things like that. And that all that work together in collaboration really helps to forge a strong relationship, I'd say.
And those are all facts. And I will add another piece, which was really key to our becoming fast friends. And I'll tell you, one of my first meetings when I joined Douglas Elliman was with Paul. And I don't even remember what it was about, but we started talking about movies and Will Ferrell, and that was it. We started, quoting movies, and immediately we were like, did we just become best friends? Yep. And so
it itself is a Will Ferrell quote, so you really are too good at this. But yeah.
Yes, and there it is, and really that's what it is as leaders in any company, right? As a CIO, from a CIO's perspective, it's not very technical. It's really understanding people, building those relationships, understanding that, everyone has their own drivers, but separately, what makes them excited to, engage with you? Because ultimately, by setting that foundation of trust and connectivity is when you can get to the other side. And I think, Paul and I have gone through a battle together, really, right? In dealing with vendors and partners and expiring contracts, renewals, you name it. It's been almost 9 years of that type of battle. And when you have to go in and have difficult relationships, I know that's also one of our questions. You really need to know that you have each other's back, right? You have to finish each other's sentences when it comes to dealing with sometimes someone on the other side who doesn't want to hear what you're going to be telling them.
Yep. And I would add to that just one more thing, Robert. I apologize. When it comes to dealing with IT, one of the things I found is that, in the past, IT always thinks, well, you couldn't possibly know more about IT than I do. And that's never the goal. I think because there's so many smart people on Connie's team, Connie included, where I never set out to know more than them. I always strive to understand, and I keep a lot of notes when I'm talking to people. I look up terms and everything, but I think it's about focusing on the non-technical nature of IT, and there's a huge people component to it. And if you can master the people component, then the technical part is just easy. You can look up definitions, you can learn how things work, but if you can't influence people, then you can't have a successful IT organization or procurement organization.
And this is where it becomes a true partnership between each business unit, right? And it's how we interact. And I like what Connie you said, Paul, in our conversation. You said, when we've been through these difficult things together, that's how these relationships form. I like your stepbrother analogy, and Connie and I had. And I'm not going to share that movie with everybody, Connie. Don't worry. But if anyone watching knows that my nickname for Connie is Cool Rider, if they know what movie that is, they can put it in the comments. I'm not going to share that movie. But you do have the commonalities, and that's how the relationship build. I mean, Nicole and Andrew, you guys had some commonalities that started your relationship. I know we weren't going to talk about wine or anything else on the show, but Andrew and Nicole.
One.
It's midday. Maybe we'll talk to the Institute about doing one of these in the evening for those folks at home, and we'll do it over a drink. But how did your relationship start and evolve? Can you guys share that?
So I'm going to dive in first because Paul mentioned, you quickly knew you'd be fast, best friends. And I will say, Nicole, I mean, everybody needs a work BFF, right? And Nicole is mine. And it's really all about like, hey, we're in this together. We are a team. And, yes, we're in two dramatically different departments. I don't even think of IT when I'm speaking with Nicole. It's all about how can we work together to advance what we can do to bring the firm forward. And it's been so fun to not only collaborate, but to, I always say, ideate, think of the art of the possible and bring some really great solutions that is going to advance our firm and do that together. And it's just such a joy and pleasure to be able to work with Nicole and to do that. And it's you never win alone, you win as a team. And it's a great team.
And look, Andrea, I feel exactly the same. I mean, I think, it doesn't happen immediately. Andrea and I spent time, working on various projects. We talked through various challenges, and over time you build a trust and you build an understanding of each other's communication styles, work pressures, when one's under and one's needing more support than the other. We've also carved out time to get to know each other a bit more personally. We'll take that moment to say, hey, let's just grab some lunch, let's just talk about something other than work so that we truly understand each other's backgrounds. And again, trust is the key base to all of this. And so when you do get into sticky situations, you can imagine between IT and marketing and business development, there's huge projects that we're working on, that you have a level of trust that you can actually disagree on things. You can disagree, you can challenge one another, and that's where you get the best outcomes. So once again, working as a team, it's the dream team when you get it all right, and that's what we're striving to do.
Both Jen Nash and Gavin Hupp all focusing in on team, right? And I'm going to, here we go, lots of team stuff. There we go, Alicia. But I would be remiss if I didn't pull back in from our last show from last year with Richard Bliss and his daughter. They talked about the importance of LinkedIn, and this is so many tidbits. If you aren't, I'm going to go back to having your BFF at your role there. If you're not tagging your best friend at your organization in this show right now to come here and tell us why they are your best friend at your role and how they support you, then you're doing them a disservice. So take something from Richard's show, take something here, take your best friend in the show, and let them hear what these guys are saying. It's really, really great information coming out here right now. So as we're hearing, and I was going to ask these questions, and I'll see if John always says things happen when we're live, right? We had a question here about the influence on relationships and their leadership style. And I do want to talk about how investing in your relationships changes your leadership style for you and your teams. But it'd be nice if our BFF would talk to us a little bit about their relationship styles of each other's best friends, right? So, Paul, can you talk to me a little bit about Connie's leadership style in building relationships across the organization as the third person? And Connie will let us know if Paul has captured her essence, right? And then the tools, Connie, that you're using to impart, and I've met some of your leaders in both your camps, right? How you're mentoring your staff to build that same leadership style as well, to continue to build those relationships through troubled times. So we're going to bring back that other question, but Paul's going to talk to us a little bit about Connie's leadership style on those relationships.
I'm going to do my best to capture your essence, Connie.
My essence. Good pressure.
I think it just, the word just came up in a comment, but authenticity, right? Authenticity is infectious. I think you can't fake it. And people see that, and that itself earns trust from people that see how you lead. I think Connie you'll always see her with her team, not just in her own office, but talking to them. And that means a lot to a lot of people, regardless of leadership style. When you walk the walk and you're there, mentoring people, she's always promoting the good efforts of her people, which is an amazing thing to do. And it's, I'm in a different scenario because I'm a one-person shop. And so, in finance, it's a different, animal altogether. But Connie's leadership style is definitely out front, take everyone with her, and, the rising tide raises, all boats in that sense, because she definitely thinks of her team when she's taking actions and wants to promote the good efforts that they do. So
Connie, as you comment on Paul and you tell us how you mentor your team, I do have a different question about Paul though. So please is Paul spot on? and how are you mentoring your team to be a relationship builder?
Thank you. Wow, I sound amazing, Paul. Thank you very much. And you know, it's true. I really do think it's making sure you highlight everyone and their strengths, right? And at the same time, it's okay for people to take risks. And if there's a mistake, let's address it and move on, right? And I think with Paul, he mentions that he's a one-man show, and I'm very mindful of that. And so to me, Paul is part of our team, right? Because he spends a lot of time working with our technology team. So, you know, I know that I provide the trust for the folks that are on the team so that they can talk to Paul and get things accomplished without me having to be in the room. And I think that's also important too. I think when I first joined, there were a lot of vendors who would say, well, you know, I hear what you're saying, but I want to run it by Connie, right? And when you're doing that, you slow down, right? So you have to really be able to trust your team and empower them, and give them the confidence that they can have these conversations with a partner, with a vendor, with procurement and other departments, and have them sort of represent the team as a whole. And by doing that and providing that trust and feedback, then you elevate everyone, right? And that's part of the mentorship without having to call it a mentorship, right? It's basically developing their confidence in leading.
So is Paul embodying that? Because everything I've known and learned about Paul and our interaction, our one-on-one, he's completely supportive of everyone in the organization. His energy seems it's ongoing. You know, he's nuclear at all times. Is that Paul? Does he bring that every day?
Every day, from a business to a friend, I have to say. I mean, you know, sometimes a few of us together, if Paul sees there's any danger, he will physically, you know, block any. That is a metaphor for how he works as a one-man show in the company, always looking out for the company, always looking out for the best interest of everyone. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful. And it's true. No, it's all facts.
So let's just look at Toody's comments and that we have up here. Let's look at this one here for a second, John. Shelby, so does anybody know Shelby as she's up here on?
Yes.
So Shelby works for Connie.
So, yes.
Part of the organization. They have a great relationship and a partnership. So this is a true testament to the two of you, and I appreciate Shelby's comments there. Exemplary terms on how to lead strong relationships and that people first approach with the team firsthand. And Shelby, thank you for that. And Michael's comment, the first one was huge. And again, I'm going to quote Richard Bliss, right? The relationship thing took a turn in the first Zoom meeting when a dog jumped in someone's lap. But here we are talking about supporting each other and having each other's back, right? It's not the era of competition anymore. It's about supporting each other. And Andrew, I've seen you and Nicole constantly support each other. And Nicole, I've seen you at every I Will event, every event Andrea's had. You're always there supporting her. Sorry, John's always has good stuff to say here too. So here we go, John, empowering your team and letting the growth be your success. So Nicole, as I've seen you celebrate Andrea all the time, can you tell us a little bit about Andrea's style on building relationships in and out of her organization?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, what came to mind as I was listening to, you know, both Connie and Paul, but I really think Andrea exemplifies this. It's this human-centered leadership. And many people, you know, talk about it now, but it's really embodying, you know, empathy and compassion for people that she's working with or people that are reporting to her at any level, really. She's definitely someone that listens very actively. That's a really key contribution I see in human-centered leadership. You know, she's constantly making sure she really understands key problems, spending time and carving out time to do that rather than rushing to the solution. She has a lot of respect for people at every level. And I think that gives her a platform that people trust her and are able to confide in her and therefore get to the deeper issues at hand. And she focuses on growth. You know, she focuses on growth for the organization, but she focuses on growth for individuals. You know, she's constantly looking, like we just talked about, I will. What is that all about? And I don't know how, Andrea, you do this on top of your day job. So she's how carves out and does this amazing job with I will, and gives back to women all over. So, you know, it's incredibly empowering. And I think the inclusion and, you know, of her leadership style is really remarkable. So there's many more things, but I think that, you know, embodies that human-centered leadership. And that's what I think about when I've been experiencing her in the workplace, but also personally.
So that relationship is taking an approach outside of technology. It's about the connectedness that she's bringing across the organization.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Andrea, it's unique that we have a CMO here. And when we talk about building relationships in and out of the organization, I think that's Nicole's primary focus, right? Building relationships in the organization so she can bring it outside of the organization and, you know, not only business development, marketing the organization that she's been with. Can we talk a little bit about her relationship building styles, both in and out, that you've watched?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, do we have all afternoon to talk about this? Because I can go on and on. And I'm just so grateful for Nicole. And it's all about just watching and learning from her, from everything, from being a cheerleader, which we all have to do for our teams, but it's a cheerleader for lifting every single person up from, you've got this. I can't tell you how many times I've heard Nicole say, you've got this, go do this. And you know how powerful that is to hear that. And I've seen her team, I mean, she's grown her team. Well, she's rebuilt her team initially when she came in to this amazing team. And they are doing crazy, wicked, amazing things for our firm. Think about building a whole brand new brand. They've won awards, and that's not doing that alone. And they couldn't have done that without Nicole saying, you've got this, you can do this. And it's, Nicole builds a village everywhere she goes. And that village, she surrounds, it's like, imagine like this virtual hug. And that is what you feel when you are around Nicole and inside the village, and everybody's included. And it's talking about not only strategy and how we get from point A to point Z. And I've seen and observed Nicole do that not only with her team, but with our partners. And she's done amazing to elevate those skills and the importance of business development and selling. I mean, that's how we make, right? And it's constant teaching. And Nicole is constantly thinking about how we can be better. And constantly teaching and surrounding everybody with that big virtual hug. It's her village. So I could go on and on. I'm just lucky to learn from her.
So this is why you both have your work BFFs, and I appreciate the desire to continue to build those relationships. So we have so many questions, and I love the comments coming in from the people that are watching. So perfect, thank you, Roman. So let's talk about just real quick, and we have a couple questions I want to get through in our last 20 minutes. But look, what's one piece of advice you wish you'd known earlier about building these relationships? And hopefully that's something people can take away with and accelerate their relationship building process. So Andrea, you haven't gone first yet today, so I'm going to start with you first right now.
I would say start and start early. That's one thing I wish I would have done. You know, one thing I wish that they would actually do in college is teach a course on networking and help you step by step be confident in doing that. I know I talk to a lot of people that are early in their career, and they're like, I am so afraid to do this. How do I do this? And I just say, just take baby steps. You know, give yourself a goal. Once a month, say, what are you going to do? You're going to reach out to 3 people that you work with that you don't know well, and you're going to ask them to go out for lunch. Start small, right? Or follow somebody on LinkedIn and give yourself a goal. You're going to reach out to one person in your LinkedIn network and ask a few more questions, or ask if they've got a half an hour to get to know them better. And urging people to get out of their swim lane. I always say, like, don't be stuck behind your desk. Get out of your swim lane, especially for people in IT. We're so apt to stay, in our technology bubble. Get out of that. And but challenge yourself and give yourself goals. So my advice: start young, start early, because it's and take baby steps.
And I love pointing out IT. We don't usually grow up in the networking world. We grow up in a closet pit.
Yeah.
So Nicole, how about you? Any advice that you wish you had earlier?
Yeah. I think the start early, I'd have to, back that from what Andrea has said. I think just learn to be a little bit more vulnerable. Learn to be able to tell people a little bit more about yourself. Don't be so guarded, because people, we talked on authenticity earlier. People can tell when you're not really being yourself. People can tell, and then that kind of puts them off. So just be yourself. If you're big and bold, great. If you're quiet and introverted, great. You don't have to be a certain type of person to get out and build great relationships. You just have to be yourself. So that's number one. And number two, baby steps again. But it's not about necessarily you having all the answers or having all the insight. It's about you asking really good questions. People like to talk. And if you ask great questions, think about any networking or any party you go to, any dinner you go to. It's no different between a professional or a personal sort of setting. So, be curious, ask questions, discover, find out about other people. And it's a really great opportunity to grow for yourself. So I think the more you do it, the people that I've coached, this seems to be a topic from a business development point. When I do business development coaching, people like, Nicole, how can I be more confident with this? And, we just talk about really taking one step at a time and really using your own inquisitive nature and good questioning and listening skills.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Paul, a little bit of twist on your question too, and same question, but from a different perspective, especially now having a single, you have your own team, you're in finance, procurement, and essentially, there's one of my very favorite books is Leading Without Authority, especially for new managers, right? Mm-hmm. Understand how to lead without authority without having direct reports yet. But now that you're in a senior role and also have to influence other people and sort of with a target on your back many times because you're the guy that says yes or no many times, mm-hmm. Any advice on building those relationships to maintain those strong relationships, especially when very often you have to, let's not say the word no, but yes, but, or maybe no.
I think it goes back to the analogy that kind of gave, not just about kind of like having a protector's attitude, but sort of, conveying trust by saying to people, hey, this can't happen, but here's why. Procurement is a lot about painting the bigger picture of, there's a larger company at stake here, and we have, thousands of agents who do a phenomenal job of selling property. And yet they may want something as innocuous as maybe a new CRM. And there's just so many layers of protection that we have to provide as a public company, where it just can't be as easy as, hey, I like this. I want to use Monday.com tomorrow. And there's so many steps, right? So part of that is distilling the complexity down to, yes, we want you to have the tools you need, but we have a larger mission here to protect the company and to make sure that, we can continue to do business at this high level. So for me, it's all about really working hard at distilling complexity down to a level that people can relate to. No one's ever happy with no, but at least you can hold the line on, there's a larger cause here. It's for the success of the company to help us grow. So, and that goes for stakeholders. It goes for, vendors outside the company. I think building trust is a lot about is empathy and putting yourself in other people's shoes so that you at least convey that you understand the mechanics of what's going on in their world. And you build trust by coming to the table with that kind of attitude, I think, a level of humility.
So empathy and humility early in a career is kind of hard, right? So trying to get people that ability to understand that when we start is a lot more difficult until you've lived some of that stuff. And so, Connie, I'm going to flip the whole script on you a little bit here, though, especially with your platform being a lot about mentoring and especially with diversity, equity, and inclusion. But how are you, any advice that you can give or something you would have known earlier in your career to apply this from a mentoring perspective on getting that information out earlier to mentor people that are going through this type of stuff?
Sure. So one of the big things that, people are afraid of the term networking. they feel like it becomes transactional. It feels like, oh my God, now I have to do this, this, and this, otherwise I've failed, right? Because a lot of times people are very process driven. And really, mentorship, networking, it's all about the relationship, building a trust, and networking and mentorship is a long-term partnership with the person you're connecting with. And so ultimately, I think it's really about building the genuine relationships. And we've talked about all of that already, being your authentic self, being able to listen to the motives and the drivers, and then really based on that, giving feedback that will speak to them, right? So it's you can't essentially give one bit of advice and apply it to them, but how they would approach it and make it speak to them has to be unique to them. And that's why, as a mentor, you have to really listen to understand what can help them get to the next level.
Connie, I love that. And the term network, and I know where I was last year when I heard this, and it was that the 𝗓𝗏 Summit, Andrew, and when I say this, you remember, but it was Jen Nash who says, networking isn't work. And I think Jen's watching. She made a comment before. If she's still here, I'd love to know what the answer was when people say networking isn't work. And I think it's fun and I enjoy it. And, I'm out there all the time, but it can't be work. It has to be part of what we do every day. And kind of really appreciate that perspective. I don't know if you were at that conference, but I do know that has resonated with me all the time, because people do look at it at work sometimes. It has to be part of your everyday to become successful in and out of your organization. So I think we do have a little bit of time for one more, because I am going to try to end a little bit early. I want to wrap with Paul today and make sure that we take care of all of our time constraints. So we work in fast-paced environments, and we do have tough roles that we get caught up in the minutiae. So let's just talk about how do we overcome those difficult situations, right? Not with each other, not in our organizations. Thank you, Jen. There we go. I appreciate it. They do think it's work. And Jen, if you could put in there, but there we go. It's about the net. Thank you for being here, Jen Nash, by the way. So how do you advise, and I think the best advice we can give some of our audience here is, what advice can we give to the people watching? How do we overcome that difficult relationship or that difficult situation to build those relationships going forward, right? And make sure that we salvage that and make a better culture at our organization, because people don't leave companies, they leave people, they leave managers, they leave bad situations. But if we're going to be really good networkers and really good relationship builders, there has to be a bad situation that we may have experienced where we are now or in the past. Any tools or tips on how to overcome that? And because it's a new question and we didn't plan this, I'm going to just, who wants to raise their hand to go first? I see Molly. There you go. Connie, you were first. But
the reason why I raised my hand is because I just had this conversation with someone yesterday. And, it's never easy because, again, everyone has different motives and fears. And so the conversation I had with someone yesterday was about forgiveness. When you work in a company, it's not transactional, right? It might feel transactional. And in real estate, it might feel like you're selling property, but it's all about relationships. And so again, someone's motivation and the fears will drive them to behave the way they behave. And understanding that can get you to the other side, because at the end of the day, we work together and we want the same thing. But it might feel like someone's working against you, and sometimes they might be. But in the long run, you have to be able to understand why they might behave that way and forgive them. Because for at least that was a message I had to remind myself, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about forgiveness and moving on, because otherwise you're kind of stuck in one place and not evolving to the next stage of that partnership and relationship.
Thank you, Connie. Andrea?
Yeah, and I love that, Connie. I share that with my team too, that things are going to happen, but move on. Do not dwell on it, because you will never get out of that stuck position. And when things happen, and I make mistakes every day. And it's like, just when you're in that situation, first of all, Nicole mentioned earlier, be vulnerable. That is the time to be vulnerable. Like, I'm sorry, did I say something that did not, resonate well, or how can we move past this? Because I want us to have a great relationship. I am here for you. How can I help you? And how can I make this better? And you're not a failure by doing that. It is, I think that only shows strength when you can do that. So be vulnerable in those moments.
It does come with a high EQ. It's a really important part of leadership. So building up your EQ is important to ask those types of questions. Nicole.
Yeah, I think you took the words out of my mouth, Rob.
Sorry.
It's about no. It's great segue. I think it's flexing the emotional intelligence muscle, right? We spend a lot of time working on our technical expertise, and I think when we are faced with really challenging situations, it allows us to build our resilience, build our compassion, build our empathy, but it also allows us to see whether or not we can take that feedback as a gift. I always say, and people on my team have heard me, it's a gift to get feedback. Whether you like the feedback or you don't like the feedback, it's a gift to learn and to develop. So again, we've touched on vulnerability, being honest and transparent about how you're feeling when once you've taken the feedback on, and just using it as a platform to build trust. And I know when I've had my client facing, I've been internal in my marketing and BD, chief role for many years. When I was client facing, some of the toughest situations with clients, when you were able to work through them and go deep and take the feedback on, whether they were dissatisfied, they always came back. They became the stronger clients and, the stronger relationships. So I think that's sort of the main takeaway there.
Going deep is important as well in relationships. The last few weeks.
Well, to the way you're ending the call, it's just nothing but stellar lead-ins for me. Thank you so much. I think just to pick up on what something Nicole and Andrea both mentioned, I think the key takeaway for me is not everyone is going to be for you, right? And it's hard, even mid-career, senior level career. Sometimes you can be like, hey, I have a 10 out of 10 relationship with Connie. Why can't it be that way with X, Y, and Z? And you can get caught up in that headspace, as Andrea mentioned. I think being mindful of that and understanding that. Being kind to yourself and knowing that you have a finite amount of energy every day to devote to everything in your life, your personal life, your relationships, your work, and your family, and all that. So you have to really be a good orchestrator of where you're going to devote that energy, and you have to really approach that humbly and just say, hey, this may not ever work out the way I need it to. Something I mentioned to Connie yesterday that I think is helpful for me in my work with not only suppliers, internal. I kind of have an invisible health bar like you might see in a video game that I think about as sort of the relationship bar. And I'm always kind of mindful in my mind's eye of saying, well, where's the relationship bar at with this supplier right now? Are we being a good customer? Are we paying our bills on time? Are we communicating? So that when we go into a negotiation, are we going in, guns blazing, where you have, the people that think to a hammer everything looks like a nail and they're going to go smashing? Well, maybe we shouldn't do that. That's never been my style, at least. So I think, what I would say is just always be mindful of the amount of energy that you have to devote and be prudent in where you devote that energy. Simon Sinek, someone mentioned in a quote, he says it for introverts, and I'm definitely one of them, said having conversations is like you get 3 coins a day and you have to spend each one on having a conversation, or at least it may be a difficult conversation. So just keep in mind how you're spending those coins and make sure you're devoting them to the right place.
So I love that Simon Sinek takeaway. Jen Nash did one with me. I keep going to Jen Nash, but I remember she said you have 100,000 of energy every day. Where are you going to spend that? And it made me think that, and I think we have one more comment coming up, but we're going to come back and do this. Over years, I learned that you don't have to like someone, trust someone. That's a really good point, Joe, as well. Trust is important. Again, you have to like someone, take care of the responsibility, and integrity is critical in everything you do, right? There's a book, the 4 agreements, right? Follow those 4 agreements. One is being true to your word and having integrity. I do think we and it's great that I have the mic right now, because I'm going to say we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this energy maybe later on this year. But where do you get that energy from, and how do you replenish it, and where do you spend your coins every day, and how do you determine your totem pole and where you decide to rebuild those relations when they do. So maybe the 5 of us will come back later on this year and talk about rebuilding those relations when you have no more energy left. But this was fantastic. And And Paul, thank you for starting this charge and giving us the idea to go forward with this. This was a great panel. I truly appreciate the five of you. I appreciate everyone watching, all the questions, comments that came in. This will be streamed. This is streamed live today. Tomorrow it will be on YouTube and every other platform. And I think this is the best kickoff I could have asked for season 3. It's all about networking and connections. And I'm truly grateful for the four of you and willingness to do this and our ongoing continued relationship. So thank you all, everyone watching and to the Institute. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining Leading in the Digital Era, presented by the Institute for Digital Transformation and hosted by Robert Field. Look for new episodes coming to a LinkedIn live session at noon on the second Tuesday of every month. Can't join Robert for the live session? You can catch the replay anytime on our YouTube channel.